Welcome in. It is college football smothered and covered, powered by Locked On. As you can see behind me, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, we are still in the hotel room in Ireland. It is Sunday night. However, we are leaving early Monday morning to fly back to the States. So when you listen, when you watch, probably be on an airplane for a long, long flight back to Atlanta. Hey, thanks for making Locked On College Football Smothered and Covered your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by Ultimate College Football HC. It's great. You have to download this game. It's an amazing simulation, and you get to step in the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine being the head coach of, I don't know, Georgia Tech, maybe even Florida State? That'd be bad. You can do anything you want with them. Recruiting, offer scholarships, hiring coaching staff, all that stuff. Every single detail will be in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go or wherever you want to. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB. That's LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, and you will receive a boost to your program, a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk. Get your team off to a strong start. Download the game. Go to ultimate-cfb.com, ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate College Football HC. Build your legacy today. All right, so we're going to go over a few things in this show. Some on the field, some off the field. We are going to break down my Big Ten predictions. That needs to happen. We did two conferences, the SEC and ACC last week. Going to do the Big Ten and Big 12 this week. But before we do that, I have some thoughts on how our sport is covered now. Like I said, you can see, and I've said it many times, I was at the game in Ireland with Georgia Tech and Florida State, and I shot a video. It was of Georgia Tech's buses arriving. And I'll show it to you. Here it is. If you're watching or if you're listening, it's about a 15-second clip. So apologize for the little bit of silence you'll hear. But for the viewers, all right, that man you see in the foreground is Charles Lester III. He is a freshman cornerback, highly rated freshman cornerback, and he's standing there as Georgia Tech's players are getting off the bus and going into the locker room. It kind of looks like he's staring them down. And because of that, things like this were published by all kinds of outlets, including Unnecessary Roughness, which I don't know what that is. I think it's a podcast that some people listen to. I don't know. But it got over 2.9 million impressions. And the text is, that is true freshman Charles Lester III just staring down Georgia Tech's team. 2.9 million impressions. I don't mind that the video got jacked from my account. I put it on the internet. The internet's forever. If you want to take it, take it. I don't care. But to assume context like that for e-clout is pretty lame. And it wasn't just Unnecessary Roughness that did this, although I saw 2.9 million impressions and I was like, dang, that's not cool. That's not cool to Charles Lester. It's not cool to Florida State. It's not cool in general. Because what actually happened, and it wasn't just Unnecessary, other ones did. On3 did, a couple others did too. What actually happened was Georgia Tech's buses arrived. There's a really tight space there. Georgia Tech's buses arrived. And they started getting off. And the way the stadium is built at Aviva Stadium, there's like a lobby between the two locker rooms, right? And the reason there's a lobby is it's primarily rugby stadium, but they also play soccer there. But both sports do this. All the players come together in the lobby and they walk out. to start a game. They walk out, they touch the soccer ball, whatever. I don't like soccer. It's stupid, but that's how they enter the stadium. So that's why there's a lobby. There's one door. Georgia Tech's players are walking through it. Charles Lester's just standing there. And it's not just him. There were other players to his left that were just standing there waiting too. So, again, to jack the video, whatever, I don't care. But to assume context, make the kid out to be some kind of jackass for e-clout, it's disappointing. And again, I used that one, unnecessary roughness one, because it got 2.9 million impressions. But again, it was Athlon Sports did it, On3 did it, The Guardian in UK, they did it. It's just, it's lame. Now, I know how important e-clout is and what it can do for a career. I don't like it sometimes, but if you're gonna do something to go viral, right? And that was the whole purpose of this, right? That the goal was achieved. They went viral and got a lot of clicks, and probably will get advertisers from it and whatever. That's how things work in this day and age. However, if you're gonna go be viral in order to further your career or further your business and generate revenue or whatever, at least do it honestly. And I go back to something that happened to me. I've been in this business for 20 years, but Twitter came in 2007, 2008, whatever. So I've been on Twitter for a while. But in 2019, or I guess January of 2020, at the LSU Clemson national championship game, I was up in the press box, which is basically in the clouds at the Superdome. But I was in the press box and I shot a video of Donald Trump and Melania Trump walking out to the field. And I took a video and I put it on Twitter and I said, President Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump walk out to the field and the crowd cheers, which is exactly what happened. Like, it's exactly what happened. And I knew it was going to go viral. I mean, I knew that, but it was real. It was a thing that happened and whatever. That got a lot of play, including a retweet by President Trump himself. But I knew it was going to go viral because, obviously it's Donald Trump. Of course it is. And I wasn't doing it to make a political statement one way or the other. I literally just stated a fact with a video, and conspiracy theories aroused from it. But it got 10 million impressions or something. I muted the conversation, and there's still people that are talking that thread actually, but just really lame. Making Charles Lester out to be some sort of punk. I mean, do better. Do better. And again, I don't even know what unnecessary roughness is, but 2.9 million impressions suggest that it's some sort of big deal. But other ones did too. On3 did it on Instagram. There were stories written about it. It's just lame. It's just lame. Don't be those guys. Don't be those guys. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Big Ten. Big Ten picks coming up. Reminder of the show brought to you by Ultimate College Football HC. Hey, you know what? You're fans of the show. That means you want to be fans of college football in every way, shape, or form. We'll take a minute to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game I think you're going to enjoy as much as I do. It's Ultimate College Football HC. It's an amazing game. Simulation. You get to step in the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football team to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of, I don't know, Florida State right now after DJ Uiagalelei can't throw a deep ball? You might want to do something if you are a head coach, and this is your chance to sort of create your own team, from recruiting players and hiring a coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships. You control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's why I really love the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football team, but shape the future of the legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want to, wherever you want to, however you want to. And of course, We have a special offer for college football smothered and covered, powered by Locked On fans. Use the promo code Locked On CFB, all caps Locked On CFB inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk as it will give your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. All right, in 3, 2, 1. College football season is back, and it's not too late to catch up before the season kicks off. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, you can get it all from Locked On's stable of college football experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Locked On College Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big 10 picks. That's not the right graphic. That's the right graphic. Big 10 predictions. We'll get to the helmet schedule after the next break. But Big 10 predictions. If you're watching, you can see this fancy graphic. If you are listening, I'm going to go through this really quick. There are 18 teams to get through. So you can hear exactly what I have. Ohio State, 12-0, 9-0. Oregon, 11-1, 8-1. Michigan, 9-3, 7-2. Penn State, 9-3, 7-2. Wisconsin, 8-4, 6-3. USC, 7-5, 6-3. Iowa, 8-4, 5-4. Nebraska, 8-4, 5-4. Washington, 8-4, 5-4. Illinois, 7-5, 4-5. Michigan State, 7-5, 4-5. Minnesota, 7-5, 4-5. UCLA, 6-6, 4-5. Maryland, 6-6, 3-6. Purdue, 4-8, 3-6. Indiana, 4-8, 1-8. Northwestern, 3-9, 0-9. And Rutgers, 2-10, 0-9. Rutgers fans aren't happy about that. They're not. But let's start with the top. Let's just talk about the top two teams. As you saw last week, I do have Ohio State and Oregon in the playoff. Those are the only two Big Ten teams. I believe that Oregon and Ohio State both are teams that can get in, but not win it as currently constructed to a point. Oregon, nothing's going to change my mind on Oregon. Dylan Gabriel's a good quarterback. They got beef up front. They're going to be able to get the job done on both lines of scrimmage, but Dylan Gabriel is not an elite quarterback. Neither is Will Howard. And that's the biggest thing to me. If you're Ohio State, if you're Ryan Day, you have the chance to ease into the season with multiple quarterbacks getting snaps, with a chance to find out the ceiling for your younger guys. Because Will Howard can't win a national championship. I firmly believe that. Now, he can get them to a playoff. He might be able to get them to an undefeated season, as I predicted in my Big Ten predictions. But to me, it's more about consistently winning the big game when it counts most. Let's just play this out for a second. If Ohio State has Will Howard at quarterback, you're saying, can Will Howard lead you to a win over Michigan and or the Big Ten championship game? And then 3, maybe 4, well, 3 if they win the Big Ten playoff games against 3 really good teams. The answer is no. The answer is no. There are weapons around, but the answer is no. With that said, could Julian Sayin? Could Aaron Olin? Could Evan Brown? I don't know. You can find out. 3 cupcakes to start the season, and the first Big Ten game is against Michigan State. You can argue that that might be a cupcake too. But I do think they go undefeated in the regular season because, fingers crossed for me, I think that Ryan Day will figure out what to do, even though he's already named Will Howard his starting quarterback. All right, Michigan and Penn State, 9-3, 7-2 each. I just think that both of those teams are going to be inconsistent. Penn State's going to be interesting to me because Tom Luganville and I talked about this on College Sports Sunday on Sirius XM Sunday morning, that Penn State, I think, is going to lose to West Virginia in week 1. Now, that could really shake things up. But I just think that there's the ceiling for those two teams is not as high as I think right now they're pegged right where they need to be. The problem is for those two teams that could prevent them from getting into the college football playoff, because 9-3 is probably not going to get it done, depending on what happens here and there. And in my playoff, I have 5 SEC teams, because I don't think the Big Ten is deep enough to have 3 or 4. But number 5 and number 6, I want to talk about. Specifically number 6, USC. 7-5, 6-3. We got into a big discussion about USC on College Sports Sunday. And I think USC is a fraud. I think USC is a fraud. I think when you have a coach like Lincoln Riley, who consistently has showed you what he is, at some point you have to believe him, and that time is now. He does not care about defense. He does not care about the line of scrimmage defensively. He cares about scoring 50 a game, and that's it. Now, has he softened on that stance a little bit? Maybe, because he finally divorced himself from Alex Grinch and hired Deontay Lynn in the offseason. And okay, maybe things are going to change. But again, somebody can tell you what they are. Somebody can show you what they are consistently. But if you don't believe them, that's on you. And right now, I'm in believe it or see it mode. See it before I believe it mode with USC. I don't think they'll be able to handle the line of scrimmage in the Big Ten. And the schedule's brutal, man. We'll talk about their schedule in the next segment, because we'll go through the helmet schedules. That's one we're going to focus on. But to me, you're going to have to ask Miller Moss, the way I see USC shaking out, you're going to ask Miller Moss to basically go be as close to Caleb Williams as he possibly can be. Okay, maybe he's a good quarterback. Maybe he is. All right. He does not have the improvisational skills that Caleb Williams does, period. We all know that. So ultimately, complementary football, how much of a step forward does the defense take? Does it take it at all? There's nothing to suggest that it will take a massive step forward, and your offense is going to take a step back. Now, Zachariah Branch is great. I love him. But to me, USC at 7-5, that seems to be where a lot of people have them, and there's a reason why. There's a reason why, and it's because people, I think, are catching on to Lincoln Riley being a bit of a fraud. Now, Nebraska at 8-4. Briefly touch on Nebraska. Ron from Illinois is one of our big callers on College Sports Sunday. We talk about Nebraska all the time. And he asked, am I buying the hype? And the answer is, yeah, I am, to an extent, because first of all, not Jeff Sims is your quarterback. Like, not Jeff Sims. That's a good thing. Dylan Raiola being there is an even better thing. And the schedule sets up so well for Nebraska to make a run. They're going to have a ton of hype around the Colorado game because of whatever, Dion. And I think Matt Rule, in terms of being an elite coach, he is. And he's got the weapons there now to at least be competitive in the Big Ten. And I think he's going to do it. It's going to be fun to see. It's going to be very fun to see. We will take a break. We're going to talk about the game-by-game schedules after the break. But got to let you know about 5-Hour Energy. Ideally, you take 5 Hour. I took a lot of 5-Hour Energy. I'm still in Ireland. My body clock is all jacked up. I barely know what day it is, much less what time it is. But 5-Hour Energy has helped me get through all of this. And, after lunch, I was a little tired after lunch. Not alone. In fact, research shows more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. I crash into it a lot. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick me up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more than everything. More flavor for everybody. You can try them all. On the side, you even have an option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5-Hour Energy, that's the number 5-Hour Energy, and you can get 20% off. You get 20% off if you use Locked On CFB. 20% off. Do you know how many naps that would prevent? Suddenly you'd have all this cash lying around and you're going to feel good because you're not sluggish and you have more money. You can go buy tickets, play Ultimate College Football GM. You can do all that stuff. So it's only valid until September 30th. On one order, cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. So go to 5hourenergy.com, 5hourenergy.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB and you'll get 20% off. All right, welcome back. All right, let's do the helmet schedule here. This is where people really get mad. Helmet schedules. Now, if you're listening and not watching, you're probably not going to be able to understand all of this, but we're going to go through a few, and I'm just going to quickly read off win, loss, and a brief explanation as to why. And we're going to start with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They're going to be 4-0, folks. They're going to be 4-0. Wins over UTEP, Colorado, Norfolk State, and Illinois. Losing at Purdue in Game 5, that's an upset. Then they're going to beat Rutgers in Game 6, head into a bye week, and into mid-October as a top 10 team. Mark it down. The Nebraska Cornhuskers will be a top 10 team in mid-October. I think they're going to be better. I think the offense under Dylan Raiola is going to click. Matt Rule's a great coach, and the schedule sets up well. Now they're going to stumble down the stretch a little bit. That's just how it is. But cannot wait if this happens. Football's better when Nebraska does its thing. Now, let's look at Penn State for a second. I said they'd be 9-3, and the schedule sets up to a point where, you know what? Maybe they actually have a chance to make the playoff, but they won't. And here's why. A loss to West Virginia in the opener. That is going to be James Franklin. Woo, buddy. James Franklin, if you lose to West Virginia in week 1, I love you. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. But then I have them losing at USC, which would be an upset, and Ohio State. Everything else is pretty manageable. And so it'll be interesting for James Franklin because the 12-team college football playoffs kind of built for a team like Penn State, right? 9-3, 10-2, always in the mix in mid-November, but never really truly has a chance. But this year, the schedule sets up where they do have a chance. They don't have a quarterback in Drew Aller. Defense is going to be great. I love Singleton and that crew at running back. Do we trust Drew Aller? No, I don't. However, how much do you have to trust him? I think in this case, it's just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's why I have Penn State at 9-3. In reality, I think Penn State's a lower tier top 25 team. But they're going to be on that periphery because they win most of their toss-up games. Actually, they don't even have a lot of toss-up games. They lose the games they're supposed to lose and avoid multiple upsets. They might be in that mix. But it's going to be interesting with James Franklin. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about Penn State and their their game by game schedule because it just if James Franklin doesn't come through this year with a quarterback he trusts, even though I don't, and a schedule that sets up well for a team that's always on the periphery of the 12-team playoff, light that seat up. The last one, Michigan. Michigan is not a national championship caliber team right now. It can play its way into one. The problem is the schedule's just so dang hard. I have them losing at home to Texas, to Oregon, and at Ohio State. That is by the end of the season, like they play Oregon the second week in November. All right. I'm sorry, the first week in November. If they figure things out, they might be a national championship caliber team. But you got to see it first. And it might be that Texas game that shows us just what their upside is. Because even if they lose that game to Texas, we're going to get a pretty good glimpse of what Michigan is. And maybe more importantly, what they aren't. Right. So I am fascinated with that team. I think Orgy's a good quarterback. They obviously are stout defensively. Donovan Edwards, I like as a running back, but there's just, they don't have true superstars. I know people like offensively. I know Donovan Edwards to say, yeah, he's on the game cover, whatever. I don't know. It'd be fun to see, especially with Sharon Moore and the coaching changes and all the other stuff going on. That will do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. Hey, you know what? For your second listen, why don't you go check out the Locked On College Football podcast? From NIL deals to a never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description below, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hopefully, we'll be well rested and ready to go when the next podcast is recorded. Hopefully, I'll be back in the States too. Fingers crossed. Land at 3:43 in the afternoon on Monday after a 9-hour flight. Fun. We will preview the Big 12 coming up on the next episode. Till then, have a great day, everybody.